Welcome to Movie Narration Channel. Today we'll be narrating the 2008 movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. The story begins in 1928 amidst the snow-covered Indian mountains of Karakoram, where a mountaineer prepares for a climb. He spots a mysterious bright light among the peaks and decides to investigate. As he approaches, he discovers a glowing sphere encased in a thin layer of ice. Driven by curiosity, he strikes the ice with his pickaxe, triggering a burst of bright light that knocks him unconscious. When he awakens, the sphere has vanished, leaving a strange round mark on his arm. Fast forward to the present, where Dr. Helen Benson, an astrobiologist, lectures on extraterrestrial bacteria at Princeton University. After class, she declines a lab technician's party invitation, citing the difficult conditions she faces at home, specifically her challenging relationship with her young stepson, Jacob. At home, Jacob refuses to eat healthy food and plays video games non-stop. Helen is interrupted by a mysterious phone call from someone who knows her address and tells her that a car is on its way. Moments later, a police squad arrives at her house. A man in a suit tells Dr. Benson that the FBI needs her assistance immediately, providing no further explanation. Leaving Jacob with a neighbor, the bewildered Helen gets into the car. On the way, Helen tries to learn why the FBI needs her, but the agents don't have any answers. The urgency is evident, as the convoy is escorted by numerous police cars. They arrive at an airfield where Dr. Benson boards a helicopter with other civilians who are equally clueless about their sudden abduction. Among them are specialists from various fields, a nuclear physicist, an astronomer, and a civil engineer. The group realizes that something extraordinary is unfolding. The scientists are taken to Linwood Military Academy in New Jersey, where they are asked to surrender their cell phones. Helen manages to hide hers. They are briefed by Dr. Michael Granier, who explains the situation. An unidentified object from space is hurtling toward Earth on an unconventional trajectory. The scientists calculate that the object will collide with the planet, and due to its immense speed, it can't be intercepted with missiles. The government has assembled an emergency response team to handle the aftermath of the impending catastrophe. The team has just over an hour before the cosmic object impacts Manhattan, threatening the lives of 8 million people.
After the briefing, Helen locks herself in the bathroom to call Jacob and warn him of the impending danger. Unsure how to break the news to her son, she asks him to hide in the basement to wait out the big storm. A military woman overhears the conversation and confronts Helen, who admits to smuggling a phone. The soldier, needing to contact her own loved ones, asks to borrow the device. The team of scientists heads to the projected impact site, anxious and uncertain. The object remains unidentified, and the missile defense system is inexplicably disabled. They hold hands in fear, counting down the seconds to impact, but nothing happens. Instead, they witness a bright ball of light slowly descending towards Earth, casting an eerie glow over the streets of New York City. The space object lands in the heart of Central Park, sparking panic as citizens flee in terror. Scientists, clad in protective suits, cautiously approach the glowing sphere, detecting strong electromagnetic waves. Military personnel, police, and snipers surround the object, awaiting further orders. A brilliant light suddenly flashes and an alien figure emerges. Helen, seemingly entranced, steps forward to meet the alien as he extends his hand. Just as she reaches out, a gunshot rings out and the alien collapses into her arms. In an instant, a massive creature emerges from the light, disabling all machinery with a terrifying ultrasonic sound that stuns everyone. The creature reaches for the wounded alien, but the alien halts it with a simple gesture. The biological robot immediately shuts down, and all the terrestrial equipment returns to normal. The injured alien is quickly taken to a military laboratory, where medics are baffled by his physiology and struggle to treat him, causing his condition to worsen. Helen suggests bringing in a surgeon to remove the bullet from his body. As the surgeon operates, the grey, stringy tissue begins to peel away, revealing that the alien looks remarkably human. After the procedure, the alien is placed in a protective capsule, where his vitals rapidly stabilize and he regains consciousness. Initially panicked, the alien calms down upon seeing Helen. She reassures him that he is safe. The alien, now fully human in appearance, looks just like the mountaineer from 1928 and begins repeating Dr. Benson's words as if committing them to memory. Meanwhile, the world is gripped by panic following the Central Park incident. Stock markets crash, civilians prepare for urgent evacuations, and people in cities worldwide flee population centers, fearing an alien invasion. While the president and vice president take refuge in a secure location, U.S. Secretary of Defense Regina Jackson takes control of the situation. In an emergency meeting, she learns that the aliens have hacked into a spy satellite, gaining access to classified national defense information. Intelligence reports that similar glowing orbs have landed in various locations around the globe. At the lab, Regina listens to the scientists' findings. Flesh samples from the alien reveal DNA from 3 different life forms. The alien's body tissue is human, while the grey flesh shell is organic, serving as a protective outer layer. Dr. Helen theorizes that the aliens previously visited Earth and obtained a sample of human DNA, allowing the injured visitor to assume human form. The group then visits the alien, who now speaks in full sentences and requests water. He shakily lifts the glass to his mouth, remarking that it will take time to adjust to his new body. The scientists exchange uneasy glances, uncertain how to communicate with him. Jackson takes the lead, asking the alien about his intentions, but receives no reply. Helen then gently asks him to share more about himself and his name. The alien introduces himself as Klaatu, revealing that he represents a coalition of civilizations. Klaatu requests a special UN meeting to address the world, but Regina refuses his request. Following their conversation, Regina orders Klaatu to be injected with truth serum and transferred to a more secure location for interrogation. The scientists, believing Klaatu to be the most significant discovery in human history, are reluctant to hand him over to the Secret Service. However, the Secretary of Defense insists that Klaatu, as a representative of an extraterrestrial civilization, poses a potential threat to humanity. She is determined to extract as much information from him as possible regarding his mission on Earth. Dr. Granier confronts Regina, but their argument is cut short by Helen, who offers to personally administer the injection and conduct the necessary tests. The FBI agent gives her an ampoule of truth serum, but Helen discreetly swaps it with a regular saline solution. Regina informs Klaatu that he will be moved to a more secure location, but Klaatu disagrees, stating his intention to leave the military base. Regina, however, is resolute, citing his illegal entry onto the planet and the fact that his robot attacked the military. Klaatu explains that the biorobot only activates in response to violence. Despite this, Regina orders Helen to administer the injection. As Helen does so, she quietly whispers to Klaatu that he must escape. After the procedure, Helen is quickly escorted away by the military, and Klaatu is restrained and taken to a room equipped with a lie detector. During the interrogation, Klaatu reprograms the lie detector, causing the agent to be electrocuted. He then takes control of the agent's mind and learns how to escape the military base. After extracting all the necessary information, Klaatu disguises himself in the agent's uniform. Using his ability to manipulate Earth's electronics, he locates the guards and incapacitates them with ultrasonic waves. Despite the ensuing alarm, Klaatu slips out of the building unnoticed. Amidst the chaos, Helen manages to steal a sample of Klaatu's tissue. Upon discovering Klaatu's escape, Regina orders all available resources to be deployed in capturing him. Klaatu makes his way to a train station where chaos reigns due to cancelled departures. Now, partially human, Klaatu experiences hunger and uses his abilities to obtain a free sandwich from a vending machine. The man observes the aggressive behavior of the people in the train station lobby with interest. Suddenly, he feels unwell and retreats to the bathroom, where he notices red fluid leaking from his bullet wound. Due to the vulnerability of the human body, the alien faints. Meanwhile, at Helen's house, the doorbell rings. A stranger informs her that her patient is at the station. Realizing that the man in question is the alien, Helen quickly sets out to retrieve him. She helps him into her car, where he encounters the unfriendly Jacob. Klaatu requests a sample of the grey tissue that was removed from him, and when he applies it to his wound, it heals instantly. Meanwhile, US military forces attempt to attack the biorobot. Sensing the impending danger, the giant immediately activates, seizing control of all military equipment and destroying it. The military's efforts to subdue the alien fail, leaving the commanders in despair. Helen continues to follow Klaatu's directions. Jacob notices a massive traffic jam as cars attempt to flee the city. The boy harbors a deep hatred for the alien beings, believing they must be destroyed, and is convinced his father would have fought them if he were still alive. The trio arrives at their destination. When Jacob goes to the bathroom, Klaatu asks Helen about his family. She reveals that Jacob's father was a military engineer, and his mother passed away during childbirth. Helen married Jacob's father, but after his death, she became the boy's guardian. They enter a fast food cafe, where Klaatu meets the elderly Mr. Wu, another member of an extraterrestrial race who was sent to Earth much earlier to study humans. Klaatu warns Mr. Wu about the impending operation and suggests he leave, but Mr. Wu chooses to stay. Over his many years of research, he has grown to love the Earthlings and has even started a family of his own. Despite recognizing that humans are damaging the planet, he wishes to spend humanity's final moments with them. In the meantime, the military installs super-strong protective panels around the now inactive giant biorobot, hoping to block its powers. An emergency hotline receives hundreds of calls from people who have spotted Klaatu. On the orders of the authorities, Klaatu is portrayed as a fugitive criminal. Helen, Klaatu, and Jacob head to New Jersey. Upon arriving in the woods, Klaatu asks to stop the car and steps out. Concerned by his strange behavior, Helen instructs Jacob to lock himself in the car while she follows Klaatu. A swarm of insects flies past her and leads her to a lake, where she secretly observes Klaatu as another glowing orb emerges from the water. At that moment, Klaatu initiates the emergence of alien spheres across the planet. Shocked by what she witnesses, Helen returns to the car. Jacob begins to question his stepmother about their strange companion, sensing that something is amiss. He fears that Helen might marry Klaatu and that he would take his father's place. Disturbed by these thoughts, Jacob bolts from the car and runs into the woods. Helen chases after him, but they are suddenly distracted by a bright beam of light among the trees. It is a glowing orb, like the other alien spheres, departing the planet. The only sphere remaining on Earth is the one Klaatu arrived in. Klaatu returns from the forest and instructs Helen to take him back to the city. She refuses, demanding to know what is happening. Klaatu explains that humanity is destroying Earth with its activities. He reveals that there are few planets in the universe that can sustain complex life, and his civilization has come to save Earth from humans. Klaatu believes that the planet can regenerate if humanity is eradicated. Dr. Helen tries to persuade him that humans can change and deserve another chance, but Klaatu is skeptical. He explains that they have observed humanity for years, hoping for change, but the situation has reached a critical point. Despite Helen's pleas, Klaatu informs her that the process of eradicating humans has already begun and cannot be stopped. A police officer manages to track down Klaatu and pulls a gun on him, demanding his surrender. Jacob, frightened, asks Klaatu not to harm the officer. Klaatu, without emotion, assures Jacob that the officer's pain will be brief. With a wave of his hand, he sends Helen's car hurtling toward the officer. When the officer collapses and shows no signs of life, Klaatu uses energy from the car to revive him, explaining that he did not intend to harm the officer, only to remove a temporary obstacle. Helen is convinced that Klaatu has the power to stop everything if he chooses. She proposes taking Klaatu to someone who might change his mind. Meanwhile, the Secret Services investigate the aliens' purpose for coming to Earth. Scientists discover that various Earth creatures are being transported in the glowing spheres. Secretary Regina, observing the events, suspects that this resembles the rescue of species on Noah's Ark. The American military commanders, anticipating an impending attack, move the biorobot into an underground silo. Riots and looting begin to erupt worldwide. Dr. Helen takes Klaatu to meet an old Nobel Prize-winning mathematician she knows. The alien is distracted by a formula on the board and corrects it. Noticing this, the scientist joins him, and together they solve the problem. Realizing who Klaatu is, the astonished scientist asks how Klaatu's civilization managed to survive. Klaatu explains that their son began to die, forcing them to evolve to survive. The mathematician suggests that humanity, too, is capable of change, especially when faced with extinction. The scientist's words give Klaatu pause, but their conversation is cut short by the arrival of Air Force helicopters. Klaatu, Helen, and Jacob quickly leave the scientist's house. As they depart, the scientist advises Helen to change Klaatu's mind through actions, not arguments. The trio tries to hide from the military in the woods. Jacob stops in a clearing, waving his arms to attract the helicopter's attention. He confesses to Helen that he was the one who called the SWAT team, believing it was what his father would have done. Helen, emotionally, reminds Jacob that his father is no longer alive, which brings the boy to tears. Suddenly, a soldier grabs Dr. Benson, and the helicopter immediately heads back to base. The other helicopters spot Klaatu and prepare to fire. Using his powers, Klaatu stuns the pilots, causing the helicopters to crash into each other. Jacob, terrified, runs into the woods, fearing that Klaatu may seek revenge. When Klaatu catches up to the boy, he saves him from falling into a river and convinces him to follow him. Back at headquarters, Helen pleads with the Secretary of Defense to let her go, insisting that only she can stop Klaatu and prevent a disaster. Meanwhile, Special Forces experiment on the giant biorobot at the military base. In an attempt to pierce its armor, one of the diamond drills breaks, revealing metal insects inside the crack. These insects multiply rapidly and soon the biorobot disintegrates into millions of bug-like nanorobots. The nanorobots quickly devour everything around them, turning everyone at the military base to dust. The military reports the situation to Regina, explaining that the nanorobots are indestructible. Missiles launched at them only increase their numbers. The swarm of alien bugs forms a massive cloud, moving in all directions and destroying everything in its path. Realizing that military force is powerless against this threat, the Secretary of Defense agrees to release Helen so she can negotiate with Klaatu. She is also joined by her scientist friend, Michael Granier. Klaatu takes Jacob to a woodsman's cabin and allows him to call his stepmother. The boy asks to be taken to Helen and suggests a safe place for them to meet. During their journey, Jacob confesses to the alien that he no longer wishes to see him destroyed. This causes Klaatu to begin questioning his beliefs and whether the destruction of humanity is truly necessary. Jacob leads the humanoid to the cemetery where his father is buried, desperately pleading with Klaatu to resurrect his father as he did with the patrolman earlier. However, the alien's powers prove ineffective in this situation. Disheartened, Jacob tells Klaatu to leave. Helen arrives, comforting Jacob and calming him down. Witnessing this emotional reunion, Klaatu finally sees the positive side of humanity and realizes that humans deserve another chance, but only if they change their ways and lifestyle. Meanwhile, the cloud of nanorobots rapidly approaches New York City, consuming a massive stadium in mere seconds. Despite Regina's pleas for peaceful negotiations, the president orders the military to resume action. Helen, Jacob, Klaatu, and Michael race to Central Park, heading towards the last remaining sphere. They break through the roadblocks, but the military surprisingly allows them to pass. As they reach the park, they find it deserted, with all military personnel and scientists removed. Suddenly, the Air Force launches an attack on the alien orb, following orders from the Secretary of Defense. Michael is killed, and the others are quickly surrounded by the nanorobot cloud. Klaatu urges Helen and Jacob to reach the orb, but the swarm is already closing in on it. Klaatu helps Helen and Jacob take cover under a bridge, but the destructive bugs have already infiltrated their bodies, slowly consuming them from within. Jacob's nose begins to bleed, and he loses consciousness. Desperate, Helen begs Klaatu to save the child. Klaatu saves both Helen and Jacob by absorbing the insects from their bodies into his own. He acknowledges the old scientist's words. Humans are indeed capable of change when pushed to the brink. After giving Helen and Jacob a final meaningful glance, Klaatu steps out from their hiding place and makes his way through the nanobot cloud to the sphere. As he touches the glowing orb, all of the bugs are destroyed. However, this also causes all Earth technology to shut down, plunging cities into darkness and bringing life on the planet to a standstill. Klaatu sees this as a fair price for the damage humanity has done to Earth. He then departs the planet, leaving humans with one last chance to correct their mistakes. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the movie narration, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to get more such movie narration videos. Thank you.